Thank you for having me. I prepared this speech if this was going to be a roast. Nobody told me it wasn't a roast until I got here. I ran some jokes by Tim Gebhardt and Mark Light. I said, do not tell those jokes. It's not the right crowd. And unfortunately, the jokes were centered on Don Miller. He was my high school principal. He's not here, so I really can't tell them. And it probably really isn't the right crowd. But I did say the Davy Jones joke. I shouldn't say it. I should have. My brother told me not to tell this joke. It's not really a joke. Right? He went to, I said, listen, Davy is probably the greatest sports radio host in the history of the world. And if you don't believe me, just ask him. I'll tell you. But in all seriousness, I talked to Don a couple months back, and I said, hey, Don, how am I not in the Hall of Fame? What do I have to do to get in the Hall of Fame? He says, well, Ludi, because he called me outside high school, he goes, how big a checkbook do you have? I said, but I played on the state runner-up team at Wynford. And then he pointed out that I played less minutes than the Mexican exchange student who tried to kick the ball through the hoop. So, but I get the privilege tonight of inducting Mike McGuire, and I was talking to Dave Sheldon today and at a basketball tournament, and we were talking about who's the greatest player to ever play at Wynford. And Wynford, amazing history if people followed Wynford basketball. And he says, I think Mike McGuire was the best player ever. But if Phil Gebhardt or his family's there, don't say I said that. So you can look in the program at the gaudy statistics that Mike McGuire put up, and they're just ridiculous. And, I called him Mac. Everybody calls him Mac. He scored 45 points in a single game against Buckeye Central. Now, Deb Coons is back there laughing because he scored 53, and his brother Howard scored 46. So to them, 45 is not that big a deal. But 45 points against a box and one. They boxed and won. They chased him. He missed his first shot and then proceeded to make 17 in a row. And then he missed his 19th shot, or he missed a shot, and Coach Sheldon said, take him out, he's gone cold. And he did it in 2.5 quarters. And Mac, I had the privilege of, somebody asked me, what was it like playing with Mike McGuire? I said, I have no idea. I was on the bench most of the time. But Mac is without a doubt the best player that I've ever seen without the basketball in his hand. And it's an art form that kids today just don't understand. And I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, but you watch basketball today, and all you see people do is dribble, 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 dribble. Mac didn't do that. He wasn't the point guard. And trust me, when we played, he had multiple people chasing him. And he had to learn how to move without the basketball in his hand. And he was a magician at it. And so when you think about the gaudy statistics that he put up, you have to understand he did that almost every night against a box and one. And I don't know any player in the history of Crawford County, and I haven't seen them all, that could have put up those numbers under the circumstances by which he did it. Needless to say, he had to carry a team. His teammate, Mr. Groves, didn't accept for him. He had to carry that team. I'm sorry. But the thing about Mac is, if I had to give one word to describe Mac, and that is winner. He just wanted everything he did because he wanted to win more than you did. Now, when Mac graduated, he went on to play Division I college baseball. He ended up at the University of South Carolina, played for the Gamecocks in the SEC. Eventually played a little bit of pro ball. Then he got into coaching. He's had 4 head coaching stints. And every place he went into, Lander University, Louisburg College, Morehead State, and most recently at South Carolina Upstate, every place he goes, they're in dire straits, and they're losing. And when Mac takes over, within a few years, they'll have the best season, the most wins they've ever had in the history of their program. And that's just crazy when you think about that. When you look at his winning percentage, and I asked him, how do you do it? And he coaches just like he played. And that is, you know, when we were in high school, Mac wanted to beat you in every single drill. And because I oftentimes was on the scout team, I had to guard that guy every day in practice. And let me tell you something. It didn't matter whether it was a box-out drill, a close-out drill. He was going to beat you. There were no out of bounds. When we played in practice, there were no out of bounds. And I don't know how many times he ran me into a wall or knocked me over the chairs because he wanted to win every single drill, every single possession. And when he got to college and he started coaching baseball, in his practices, everything they do is a competition. And after every practice, after every drill, he charts the winners. And his kids know that. And if you're going to play for Mike McGuire, you have to be a winner. And if you're not going to win in practice, if you're not willing to beat the other guy, you'll never play for him. And so when I think back at the historic run that Wynford made, you know, Mac's our sophomore year, we were state runners-up. Mac's junior year, we got beat in the regional championship game. Mac's senior year, he gets to the Final Four again. It was made all-tournament team. 802 points in a single season. He averaged 29.7 points his senior year, and that's being chasing a box and one every night. So there's a lot of great players that have played at Wynford, but he's certainly, if not the best, one of the best. Thank you.
I didn't know there'd be an exercise part of this. So I want to thank the judge for inducting me and Mac, I guess. And I want to thank Davy Jones because of those two, I'm the third worst athlete in the world, apparently. And I am disappointed. I was kind of hoping with Davy going before us, I'd learn what the specials were at Guyers. I really want to know what Rumpos is going for. I just want to follow up a little bit before I read what Mac asked me to share with everybody, and just kind of double down on some of the stuff that the judge said about how competitive Mac was when we were in school. And I mean, he and I have been friends since junior high, and I didn't really understand how competitive he was until after we were in 8th grade. He said, "Hey man, we're going to go to this church like shut-in at the or I think it was the Tiffin YMCA." Okay, and he goes, "There's gonna be some cute girls there, and we're gonna get to hang out." And I'm like, "All right, I'll go, meet some girls or whatever." What I didn't know is that he had set up this impromptu basketball tournament. Okay, I had no idea what we were getting into, and he'd apparently been talking up that we were going to come, and me and him and we were going to just wipe the floor with everybody in this 4-on-4 basketball tournament that lasted till 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and I finally was like, he's like dragging me, like, "Come on, man, we got to do this. We got to beat these guys." Well, here it turned out, this was the Upper Sandusky JV team. We were like in 8th grade. He was bound and determined we were going to beat them, and he just. And he got me there because he said we were going to meet girls. And I never did meet a girl there at the shut-in, but we did win what we affectionately now refer to as the Chicken Festival because we didn't have anything better to call it, okay? So, and what's ironic is Mac passing this duty on to me to accept this on his behalf was he never really passed me the ball in school. And so, now Ryan, come on, you had front row seats, and so it reminds me of a story. We were playing Ridgedale our senior year, and it was down to the last 5-6 seconds. It was a tie game, and we run a play, and he passes the ball to me to win the game. And of course I miss it, and we don't win the game, but we don't lose. We go to overtime, in which he led us to a win in overtime, but he also scored his 1,000th point in that overtime period. So after the game, he comes up to me in typical Mac fashion, and goes, "I'm never passing you the ball again." And I'm like, "No, wait a second. No thanks for getting you the extra time to score your 1,000th point." So I still have not got a thank you for that. Hopefully he'll thank me for this, but he didn't thank me for that. And like the judge mentioned, Mac ended up his college baseball career at South Carolina, which, for people who don't know college baseball, playing college baseball at South Carolina is like playing football at Ohio State, okay? Now, he started at the University of Akron, okay? And he played a couple years at University of Akron with another Bucyrus native, Jeff Fisher. And what a lot of people don't know is that Mac walked on to the basketball team at the University of Akron and made the team, okay? So he was going to play varsity sports at a Division I college in 2 sports, and he decided not to because he didn't want to miss out on some off-season baseball stuff. And he admitted to me later, he goes, "Oh, if I knew how easy baseball was going to be," he goes, "I just kept my basketball too." But that's typical Mac. He's got some swagger to him, and he's got some confidence, okay? Now, I will take responsibility for him transferring to South Carolina, because when my college football career was over, Fish and Mac encouraged me to come up and live with us at Akron and go to school up here. And it was one morning, me and Mac used to play this. Now, Davy Jones was asking about, if you remember all these people, who remembers the Nintendo video game RBI Baseball? Okay, yeah, okay. So we would let that game play continually, because I don't want to get into the details, but there was this one guy that we made fun of, and so I wake up one morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, and this guy was a player for the Texas Rangers, he was almost hitting 280, which for some reason was a big deal to us. So I wake Mac up at 5 o'clock in the morning. "Hey man, this guy's he's gonna get a hit. Mac goes, what are you waking me up for? Like let me sleep." And he goes to lay back down, and he goes, "All right, let's play." And so I think Mac knew right then and there he had to get out of Akron and get out of the cold weather and get away from me, or else he wasn't going to graduate. Okay, and so he took off to South Carolina, and his love affair with being in the South has never ended. And he's been, like the judge said, he's super successful everywhere he's been. So I'm going to read now what he sent to have me read. I'll try not to embellish it. But so, in the words of Mike McGuire, first of all, I'd like to say I'm honored to be recognized here tonight. I'm sorry I cannot be present tonight. As a college baseball coach, I'm in the midst of my season and playing on the road this weekend in North Carolina as we open up conference play. Phil, did they end up winning?
Halfway through, they're ahead 2-1.
All right, they're 2-1. I know they won last night, so they're off to a good start in the conference. I was very fortunate to play in a lot of good high school baseball and basketball teams at Wynford at the time when high school athletics might have been in its heyday in popularity in Crawford County. Playing in front of packed gyms every night, I think back to the high school basketball tournament runs that the following and support from the community and county would swell and make the Running Royals feel like we were the greatest show on earth, which those are very true words. I want to thank several people. I want to thank the Crawford County Hall of Fame for this recognition and honor. I'd like to thank my high school teammate Shane Leuthold for presenting me tonight. I'd like to thank my high school teammate Shane Grove for accepting this award. There's not much more than that. I hope it would have been something else. So he goes on to say, we bonded as teammates in Gray Y basketball and junior high basketball some 40 years ago. Later, becoming high school teammates, we became fast friends along the way. To this day, their loyalty as friends is greatly appreciated. I'd like to thank my wife, Angela, my daughters, Courtney, Sydney, and Sarah, who could not be in attendance tonight. I am very fortunate to have such a wonderful wife and 3 beautiful daughters that the support they provide me in my coaching career is invaluable. I'd like to thank my high school basketball coach, Rob Sheldon, who's also a Hall of Famer. I'd like to thank my baseball high school coach, Tom Schreck. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Both Hall of Famers in their own right, he says. In this day and age of sport specialization, when high school coaches pressure kids to play one sport all the time, both of my coaches understood my passion and ability in both sports and gave me the freedom to participate in both sports, and often at the same time. If I missed an open gym in the spring or summer, it was because I was playing a baseball game. And in the middle of basketball season, I would attend hitting camps and be prepping for baseball season. Neither coach ever held it against me. They knew my practice habits, and I was getting my work in. Also, he was the best player, what are you going to say? I think about all the life experiences I would have missed out had I only played one sport. I would have missed a lot. I'm very appreciative to both coaches. Thank you to my parents, Phil and Charlene McGuire, who are in attendance tonight. I have had a love for sports at an early age, and my parents did everything they could to give me the opportunity to chase my love of both sports. The love and support I had growing up in their house, I still feel today. My parents also provided a great example in what it meant to work hard and be determined and resilient. Thank you to my mom. I couldn't count how many times in her lifetime she washed uniforms at midnight so they would be ready for the game the next morning, all the trips to and from the field or the gym before I could drive, all the on-the-fly meals she made for me and my teammates. I can attest to that. If you're ever in a pinch for a meal, stop it. See Charlene McGuire, because she can whip something up out of the freezer in about 2 minutes. Just about every teammate I've had at some point had a meal in Charlene's kitchen. See, there you go. My mom always put my brother and I first and always provided an example in serving others. My dad, for the number of times the hay didn't get baled so we could go to a ball game or I could go to an open gym, for the hours spent in the barn, whether in the batting cage or shooting baskets, he taught me to play both sports and what to work on and the habits it took if I wanted to be good. My dad was my mentor, my confidant, my coach, my hero. I was a self-made player. I had some ability, but more than anything, I had a love and passion to play baseball and basketball, and my dad was with me every step of the way. Growing up, I loved replaying my games in conversation with my dad. I loved the feedback, both positive and negative. And now as a college coach, we don't talk after every game, but he is well aware of what is happening with my team, and I look forward to our conversations after a weekend series. I don't take those conversations for granted. They are still special to me. To my high school teammates, as a college coach, I often tell my players that we cannot worry about personal accolades, personal awards, personal recognition, or have personal agendas. I often remind them that if we win, if we have a good team and accomplish great things, there will be plenty of awards and accolades to go around. And I received plenty of awards during my high school career. This is Matt, not me. Many of those awards were a byproduct of being on a good team and having good teammates. Of all the awards and accolades I received in high school, one of the things I am most proud of is that during my high school basketball career, we were 71-10. Our 1987 team lost in the state finals. Our 88 team lost in the regional finals, and our 89 team lost in the Final Four at the state tournament. We won a lot, 71-10. Think about that. To win that often, everyone had roles and carried out those roles, and Rob Sheldon orchestrated it. I was fortunate to have the role that I took more shots than my teammates, and so were we, fortunately. But we didn't win at a rate we did without all of my teammates, buying in thanklessly, carrying out their jobs and roles. The county treated us like rock stars during this time. It was never about me, it was about us. I thank all of my former teammates for this special time together. In closing, he wants to say thanks again to all that played a part in putting this special occasion together. Words of my
Mike McGuire, Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2022-2023.